So I know we just had this Awakening Boost event, 2x for all of our blessings and stuff. And on my free-to-play, I actually pulled a really good blessing for Kale, my starter champion. And that's huge for me in my account. It just ups all the base stats. But I was so confused. Which one do I choose? Which blessing do I put on him? And so I thought what would be fun is to go through all the rare blessings and do a little tier list. Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is going to be a Raid Shadow Legends video. As I said, I am on my free-to-play, and I wanted to go through all the rare blessings and do a tier list of them because I've never done that before, and I thought it would be kind of fun and helpful because I know for myself when I was looking at it, I was like, gosh, which ones do I choose? Which one makes the most sense? And the rare blessings specifically are very champion specific and also very area specific. I think there's a big difference between where you want to use your champion and which blessing is going to be most beneficial. So that's what we're going to do today. And I'm actually kind of excited by this. I think it'd be a lot of fun. So it shouldn't be too long. There's only 5 different types of blessings, and there's only 2 rares in each, so we're doing 10. So it's a top 10 list really here. So we're going to break it down and kind of look at it and look at all the champions. As you can see on my account, I actually have a few rare champions that I'm planning to build and use. Right now, obviously, Kale, my best damage dealer, but also Coffin Smasher as my only decreased attack champion right now, so I kind of have to use them by default. It's pretty good anyway. I also have Bowsmith Flannan, not Flanagan, Flannan. Anyway, Bowsmith is really good. I was shocked, but easily one of the best rares in this game right now. And obviously, we would want to know what kind of blessing we choose on him. I have a Paragon. I have a Doom Screech. All these are champions that potentially I'll use. Not to mention, I do have a Frozen Banshee down here, who I will plan on building at some point. Will I use her? I don't know. I mean, Kale's pretty good, but it's good to have that option. So it came to I was thinking about it. I was like, well, which blessing do I want to use? Where? Are they all good? I don't know. And I've never done a tier list before, and I thought that would be a lot of fun. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go look at them. We're going to break them down and do that. So here I go. I'll go to our tier list page right here, and you can see I've got all the different blessings down here. So we'll start just in order with what I have selected here. So that first one is going to be Nourish. So let's figure out what Nourish is. Coming back here, it increases the value of the heal granted by continuous heal buffs placed by this champion. So this is only going to be useful if the champion I'm putting it on actually gives you a continuous heal. It's not going to be for everybody, right? I think somebody like a Michaelis or a Reliquary Tender, this is something that can really get value out of this. Each continuous heal placed by the champion restores the portion of the target's destroyed max HP, which is really good. That's something that, a lot of these kind of heal things don't work with the continuous heal because it's kind of happening on a champion's turn. So that's a pretty cool thing. You can see an extra 5% here at baseline, 10%, 15%, and then 30% once you get to 6-star. So it's not a huge heal. It's not a big heal bonus, but it is there. Now, one thing to remember whenever we're talking about increasing a heal percentage, it's always multiplicative, which means it's way less impactful than you might think. It's not going from a 15% continuous heal to a 20% continuous heal when you add 5%. It's going to 5% of the 15%, right? So I don't even know what that breaks down to. Be like 3.5% basically, right? So you're going from 15% heal to wait, is that even right? I don't even think that's right. I think it's not a lot. It's not a lot, right? What's 10%? 1.5. So 0.75. So you're going from a 15% heal to a 15.75% heal. It's significant. It's not nothing, but it's not huge. So I don't really rate this too high personally. I do like the restoring of max HP. That's a big part, and I think fairly significant, and definitely gets better as you get higher level. I think because it does have utility, I would put it as a B tier, right? It's definitely if you have it on the right champion, someone that puts out a lot of continuous heals, this could be really useful. This would be great on Operdin, for example, right? Someone that pumps out a bunch of these. Somebody I might even consider using that on is my my legendary champion, right? That I was able to get my Wither, right? Might actually be really useful on someone like her. So not bad for sure. But let's move on to the next one. And this one's Nature's Bounty right here. You got to figure out where we're going to go with this one. Now, I think this might be the best blessing here, like the most universally good. Maybe not OP, but universally good. This is actually what I've chosen to put on Kale. The reason why is basically it turns any small debuff into a big debuff. So the 25% decrease attack, the 30% decrease defense, the 15% decrease speed, all of those turn into the big version. Now, it's not 100% of the time. Absolutely not. But even just a 1-star makes it a 15% chance of getting the greater version of that. 30% chance at 3-star, which is what I have on Kale. That's not insignificant. 45 and then 60% once you get a 6-star. That's actually a pretty good ratio there. So if, for someone like Kale, who most of his damage comes from poison, that A1 that he hits a lot with, this all of a sudden becomes a lot better. If I get a 30% chance of turning that into a big poison, I think I'm going to get a lot out of that. And when we talk about Phantom Touch later, another, offensive geared blessing, I think this actually probably scales better than that. I don't think it's for all situations though, right? You need to be able to use poisons. That has to be like, or you have to be able to use poisons or one of these other debuffs. Like that, it's not going to come on any champion. It's going to be on a debuffer that you're going to want to use it, and one that places a small version. So I think, for Kale, I think this is a great one. I think for Bowsmith, Flannan, like we were talking about, I think that would be a great one as well. He places decreased speed as an AoE, and it's a small one. If you can get a big version of it, that can be really impactful in your run. So yeah, I like this one a lot. I think this is maybe one of the best ones, maybe the best one. I'm putting it up at S tier. Now, I will say at S tier, this is for rare champions, right? It's very limited as far as like who can utilize it. I'm not putting this on any legendaries. I'm not putting this on any epics. This is only going on rare champions. But I think for rare champions, it's extremely good, extremely powerful. So I could easily see dropping down A just because, it doesn't have any universal translation. Like Nourishing Heal, at least I could see putting it on even higher ranked, higher rarity champions, right? I could definitely see that. So that's kind of why I have it at B and not something lower like C or D. But I really like this one right here, this Nature's Bounty. I think it's very, very effective. All right, so what's the next one on the list here? As we go through, I'm trying to change blessings right now. Now we're in light. This is Indomitable Spirit. Indomitable Spirit. Okay, what does this one do? Has a chance of blocking any stun, sleep, fear, true fear, freeze, and provoke. So most of the hard CCs, I think that's all the hard CCs actually, when an enemy tries to place them on this champion. This is definitely something that's useful. The chance is pretty low though. 5%, 10%, 15%, 30%. So it's not a high rate that you're going to be able to block those debuffs, which is unfortunate, right? So yeah, how would we rate this? I mean, I feel like, who would I even put this on? Like, I feel like you could put this on maybe a healer, right? Or a speed champion or a provoker, ally protection. Yeah, really, this is universally useful, but not extremely good. I mean, 5%, 1-star, that's pretty much useless. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, that's pretty much useless, right? 10%, it's almost useful, right? If these numbers were doubled, I'd say, okay, now we're starting to talk. Now maybe we have a chance here. But maxing out at 30%, no cooldown's nice, but the rest of the time it does have a bit of a cooldown, like 1-turn cooldown. I don't know. It's not my favorite one. I definitely don't think it scales particularly well. You could put it on somebody for sure. I just don't think it scales particularly good. If you do have a champion that you absolutely can't have hard CC'd, I could see this being useful. So I think with this one, I'm thinking probably C tier, right? It's not useless. There's definitely, I don't know. I mean, honestly, it has an effect that's beneficial, but I can't see putting it on any of my champions. I just have a feeling there's probably better options. Now, maybe when we go through all these, maybe I'll come back to this and go, you know what? I was wrong. That may be the only option for this particular type of champion, right? Right now, I'm thinking like ally protection champions, the kind of, your tanks, basically, it might be good for. I would say healers, but then we have this next one here, right? Miracle Heal. And I definitely think Miracle Heal is going to be for your healers. Just bottom line. Has a chance of restoring a portion of any destroyed max HP when the champion heals themselves or an ally. The amount of HP restored is equal to a percentage of that heal. So this is we have to consider this, right? One, not doing extra healing. That's important, right? At level 1, 50% chance to restore destroyed max HP when healing, and the destroyed max HP equals 10% of the heal. So, and then it goes 75% chance to 15% of the heal, and 100% chance, 20%, and 100% chance with 30% of the heal. So it does get better as you go along. But what I like, it's already pretty decent. You know, we think of things like Hydra, right? I want to say, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but I feel like when you lose max HP facing one of the heads, I think it's 10% that you lose. So this is immediately counteracting what one of the Hydra heads does, right? There's only two places where you really lose max HP, Hydra and Sand Devils, right? So like those are the places where you're really thinking, oh, miracle heal. It's definitely kind of situational. And honestly, personally, I just rather use a curing set. I think that's just a better thing overall because you get extra healing too. But let's say you can't use a curing set or you want to use something like Reflex or Curse or something else. This is not a bad option. If you have the blessings on, I think for most people, you'd want to have at least 5-star. So you have the 100% chance. So you're not, sometimes not healing max HP. But you're still, basically that heal isn't going to destroy any more HP when it comes to like Hydra. And when it comes to Sand Devil, you are going to be restoring some of it that gets lost. I feel like this is pretty solid, right? I feel like it does scale up because of that. Obviously, it's for champions, you're going to be using in those two areas, only for healers. But it does seem to me to have more usage than, say, Indomitable Spirit because of that. Now, if you want to use those healers, if you're not going to use them in either of those areas, if you're not going to use them in Sandal, if you're not going to use them in Hydra, obviously not as good, right? We should keep that in mind too. So I think when we're putting this on here, well, I like it more than Indomitable Spirit. I do think it's about that same tier. But if this is B tier, I think maybe this goes on B tier here, right? I think these are both very useful in situations, right? Indomitable Spirit's like okay sometimes, but both of these at least have some real significant uses, some ways where you're going to go, oh yes, this is what I want, and here's where I want to use it. So I think they go a little bit higher than that. So okay, let's move on. Okay, so now we're moving into the dark. We got Phantom Touch here, the classic, attack debuff or blessing, whatever you call it. It's very universally good, right? Now, one of the things that this does so well is it works exceedingly well against Fire Knight, because on Fire Knight, you have a chance of getting an extra hit in, and obviously we have to break that shield. And so getting a bonus hit is very, very useful. When you get 6-star, it's a guaranteed bonus hit and a chance of getting another bonus hit. For most stuff, this has been the go-to, right? When you talk like clan boss or dungeons or whatever, you got an attack damage dealer, you go with this because it's extra damage, right? It's a bonus damage and it's proportional to the attack, which means, if I have an attacking champion, this is only going to be stronger. I think that still holds weight. I think this is still probably the most universally helpful blessing there is because of that. If you have an attack champion, this is the one you're going to want to put on them. Now, it does not work with defense champions. It's based on attack, not HP champions, because again, it's based on attack. So unless you're doing Fire Knight with one of those champions, this is pretty much going to be only for your damage dealers. This is what I would have put on Kale without the Harmony blessings being available. So it's definitely very good. I think it's very, very easy to say this is going to be S tier. I will sometimes put that on like epic champions or legendary champions even. Not legendaries, but but definitely epic champions, I think, can benefit from that as well. If you have some of the other blessings already locked down, and obviously I'm thinking mostly clan boss, but things like Chimera, this comes into play as well. What blessings do I put on my champions? I think Phantom Touch is kind of a no-brainer for a lot of this. And honestly, maybe should have been the one I put on Kale. I don't know. And in fact, I'm good. I'm good with the. I don't want to change the settings. I'm going to stick with it here. We're going to stick with it. The next one we have Dark Resolve here. This is going to be the other one in the dark blessings. Increases the damage inflicted by this champion according to the number of dead allies on their team. Doesn't include damage from poisons, HP burn, and bomb debuffs. I have to say, I could be completely wrong about this one. I'll just be upfront with that. I've never played with this blessing. I've never seen anybody play with this blessing. I don't understand really why you have this blessing. And the reason why I say this is if you have Phantom Touch as an option, is Dark Resolve better? Is it really better? I mean, you're getting an extra 1% damage for each dead ally. You're never going to have more than 5 dead allies. That's the most you'll ever have. So 5% extra damage, okay, right? 7.5%, okay. What is this? 2.5% for each dead ally. So 12.5% extra damage. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. Right? 25% on a 6-star. I mean, that's not insignificant, right? But there's so many conditions here. Your champions have to die. Your damage. I mean, you can't be using poison. You can't be using HP burn. You can't be using bombs. So why would you ever choose Dark Resolve? I think it only comes down to it's only reason why you use this. The only reason is your farmer. It's literally just for your farmer. I mean, that's the only reason that makes any sense. And even then, I'm kind of wondering if Phantom Touch isn't just better. Make them more universally good all the way around. So, yeah, I mean, Dark Resolve's cool, but I mean, it's not. This is my thinking. So, I mean, you're talking about literally for one champion you'd have on your team, your farmer, your campaign farmer. I guess maybe you could have it on a mastery farmer for Minotaur, but again, like, not all your champions are dying while you're doing all the masteries, right? So it's really kind of I think it's the worst. I'm putting it at D. And you have an entire blessing that's really only beneficial for like 1 or 2 champions. I can't say that's going to be a good one, right? Just doesn't make any sense. I would much rather they take a little bit of time and build something a little bit different, right? Maybe something that makes poison, HP burn, and bomb damage do more. That would be kind of cool, right? Just some ideas there. It definitely doesn't scale up super well either, in my opinion, right? Like you're going to get more damage out of some other things. And with that prerequisite of allies dying, I feel like you could easily goose these numbers considerably. Even if you got 5 allies, I mean, 25% damage boost is not insignificant, but I don't think it's worth this blessing for the prerequisites that have to go through with it. So, and also most of the time you have 4-man teams, not 6-man teams like you would in Hydra, right? Even 5-man teams aren't that common. So you're really talking 3 allies being dead, in which case you're talking a 15% damage boost. It just doesn't seem significant for a 6-star blessing to me. Even a rare one just doesn't seem like it's quite worth it, considering all the factors you have to go in to make it work, right? Now, it'd be one thing is if it's stacked every time somebody died and it kept growing, but I don't believe that's the case. Anyway, you know what? Here, let me do a little something because this seems a little silly. I have to say, yeah, that's better. Let's make it just a bit bigger. Sorry about that. All right, let's go on to the next one here. Oh, we're moving into the war. We're talking Hero Soul down here. Where are we going to put this one? Let's look at it. Hero Soul increases the damage inflicted to bosses and their minions according to the number of living enemies. This to me screams Spider. That's what this one screams to me. Like if I really wanted to solo Spider with Kale and I was really struggling to do it as is, this is where I might put this on him, right? The number of living enemies, well, that could be a lot of them, and you get, there's 10, right? 10 minions with Spider, ultimately. So, you're getting some extra damage. But again, the numbers just don't really add up to what you're talking about. Because when you face bosses, I think Spider has the most. That's 10 of them, right? But outside of that, there's a couple Doom Tower bosses that have like 2 or 3. There is... what else? Ice Golems has 2. What else? Minotaur has 2, but they die pretty quickly too. There's not a lot of bosses with minions, right? And since this only applies to bosses and minions, it's not super helpful in my opinion, right? I mean, if you're talking 2 minions, you get extra, or I guess if you count the boss, that's what 3% extra or 3% extra damage. That's not worth a blessing, right? This one definitely it does not work. Even 6-star when you're talking 3%, you're talking another 9% damage really against like Ice Golem. It's not significant enough for me to say, oh yeah, this is totally worth it. Now against Spider, that could be 30%, right? Which you go, oh, that's pretty decent, except it's only on Spider. I mean, it's only on Spider. I don't know that really makes a ton of sense. Now, the one place where I could see this being good is if you're trying to nuke Spider and you're using a max HP strategy, like you're using Cold Hearts and Royal Guards and that kind of thing. Putting this on, giving him an extra 30% damage is not bad, right? This does seem to work really good for a Cold Heart in that specific strategy. I mean, it still just seems kind of silly to me. Just, to me personally, I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense for this to be an entire soul. It seems very, very niche, right? That is one that can scale up in that regard. But again, when you have blessings that are tailored towards, one or two areas, and, also that's really tailored towards, very few kind of number of champions, I think. So I don't love it. I think it does have more utility. Everybody does Spider. I think that does have some value there, but personally, I wouldn't go crazy on it. I wouldn't go ham. I'm going to put this, I think I'm going to, well, is it better? I think it's got to be C tier. I mean, I really do. Like, to me, it just doesn't seem like that big of a damage boost. Now, I could be totally wrong on this. If you guys use this, let me know. I would love it. If I'm wrong on any of these, please holler at me in the comments because, frankly, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm not building Spider nuke teams consisting only of rare champions, right? And I think that's a big part of that, right? Big part of that consideration. But, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this does significant damage boost for champions like Cold Heart. Maybe that's a big thing. Or maybe like Bellower, right? Could be a big thing. Maybe you bring a Bellower into Spider and just wipe all the waves. Maybe that's pretty useful. I don't think so. But I could be wrong. So just let me know on that. So the next one we have here, oh yes, of course, Faultless Defense. This is kind of a classic one. And I think this one still has a lot of value, but they did change it. It used to be like when you got hit multiple times, each hit after the first one did less damage, was basically how it went. And that was actually pretty useful for things like Clan Boss. You take significantly less damage. Now, whenever an enemy attacks an ally under increased defense buff placed by this champion, reflects a portion of the damage back to the attacker. This, I think, is actually pretty good, though. Even though, I'm not sure, like, how great it is, because your 3% damage reflects to 6%, 9%, 15%. I mean, that's not bad. I think reflect damage buff as it is a 15% buff, like the big one. So that's not bad. Those numbers are actually pretty solid, I would say, in comparison. And increased defense is a pretty common buff. So it's pretty easy to put that on your allies, I would say. So that part, not too shabby, honestly. I could easily see this, and here's a great part. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken, but if I'm not mistaken, please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about this. Please let me know, because it's very possible that I am wrong about this, but I believe that helps with Fire Knight and breaking the shield. I could be wrong. Again, I could be wrong. But I think that even if it doesn't, even if you're just reflecting damage back, because increased defense is so common to have, because it doesn't say which one you have to have, any of even the small one would work, and you get to reflect a little bit of damage back. I think this is a very valuable one. I think this is great, right? It's useful. It scales, right? You could put this on a martyr. You can put this on anybody that brings increased defense, like anybody. I think it's really, really good. So I'm definitely going to rate this higher. The universality of it, that's really, really nice. The scalability of it. So I'm going to bring it all the way up to A tier. I don't think it's S tier, like these two. And yeah, I don't think it's S tier like these two, but it's close. It's close. If it does break Fire Knight Shield, if it does break the Fire Knight Shield, hold on. I'm going to go do some research real quick. Okay. I did my research. Yes, it does work on the Fire Knight Shield. I'm bumping this up to S tier. It's S tier. It's easily S tier. I mean, you can have a blessing that can break down the shield of Fire Knight. That's massively good. And here's the best part about that. You don't have to have a high level. You really only need 1 star to be able to do that, because it's just about reflecting damage, not how much damage you're reflecting. That definitely makes this S tier, right? I know that's something specific for one area, but it can also be used in other areas to good effect. But more importantly, it makes that one area so much easier. I need to find a blessing. I need to find a 1-star blessing for somebody. One of my other rares here, besides Kale, because Kale, I got it. I made my choice already, but I got to find it for somebody else so that I can actually place that on. This might end up. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's by this champion. I might actually have to put this on with her. I might have to put it on with her. I might have to put it on Tagwar. Both of them place increased defense, and this is just too strong. This could really jump me through Fire Knight. I mean, I'm in a competition, right? I don't know that I'd recommend that for most people, but again, increased defense, champion. You put this on, you're going to knock through the shield in Fire Knight, make everything easier. Works on hard mode too, so definitely recommend it. Definitely S tier for that one. Okay, all right, let's go back. Let's figure this out. We got 2 left here. Let's knock them out. What do I have next? We're moving on to the next stage. Chaos, of course. We've got... Oh, I've got the wrong... Do I have the wrong one here? I do have the wrong one here. Oh, that's interesting. I think they must have changed this, and I just don't have the symbol for it. All right, well, this one is emergency heal. It doesn't look like the symbol. I know. That's on me. But it is the emergency heal one. That's the one we're going to be going for here. So, moving on. This is... actually what it used to be, Carapace, but it has been changed to emergency heal, so it's just a little bit different, but the symbol, the symbol's a little different. We know which one we're talking about. We're talking about emergency heal, and you'll see it here, right? This is the one we're going to be talking about. This one's great. This one's absolutely great. Heals this champion whenever a shield buff placed on them expires, is removed, or is broken by an enemy attack. The value of the heal is equal to a portion of the champion's max HP. And that heal could be 3%, 6%, 9%, 15%. Those are not small percentages. I love this one, but I have one major gripe. One major gripe with this. Every other blessing, every other buff that you get is based on the person that casts it. This is the one that is based on the person who has it, and that is crazy to me. Crazy to me. Right? I don't love that, because now the people that I need to have an emergency heal, the squishy ones, the ones that are in pain, well, I don't want to use this blessing on them. I want to use one of the other blessings on them. This is why I don't like this one so much. It's still incredibly strong. I mean, you're getting, every time shield breaks, you're getting a big heal, or even a small heal, but you're getting that heal to help you stay alive. To be very valuable in a lot of different areas of the game, especially if you're putting it on HP-based champions, right? Where they have a major HP pool, right? You're talking about 3% heal on someone with, 30,000 HP. That's not that much, right? That's not that much. I mean, 30,000 HP, 10% would be 3,000. 1,000 would be like 3%. So like you're getting 1,000 HP, but you put it on someone with 100,000 HP, you're getting 3,000 heal? It's not too shabby. That's not too shabby, right? That's something that's still pretty small. Still pretty small, but it gets a lot bigger once you get up to 15%, and all of a sudden it's a 15,000 heal, and that just makes a huge, huge difference, right? So for me, I mean, I like it. I think it's very good, but I do have some issues with it, mainly that the person placing the shield, I can't put this on them. So I couldn't put this on my miscreated monster and have it be effective. It'd be effective for miscreated monster, but not for anybody else on the team. And that to me definitely takes away from it. So I'm going to put this one, I think I'm going to put it at B tier. I really wanted to put it at A tier because I do feel like it's really useful. And I'm sure in situations you can build teams around it, but I do feel like that limitation is pretty significant, right? I know you have to have that shield, but the person casting it doesn't play. It's a little weird to me. So not my favorite. But the last one we have here is, hey, come, okay, it's going there right now. Survival Instinct, right now it's going to be down there, but we're going to talk about it first. Partially fills this champion's turn meter whenever a debuff is placed, spread, or transferred onto them. Occurs once per enemy turn. It's definitely a solid one. Definitely a solid one. I mean, I don't love factoring in getting debuffed. I just don't like that at all. But when you're talking about needing a speed champion in arena or an interruption champion in arena, this could be useful. When you're talking about things like, for example, actually pretty darn good for things like Spider. If you have a Spider tank, every time they get a poison place on them, their turn meter boosts, so they get to go again. That's not too shabby, right? When you're talking about things like Hydra, where debuffs are kind of coming all the time, not too shabby. This is actually a pretty good one, and I feel like there's a lot of ways that you can utilize this. So this one to me, I like. It's not a huge turn meter fill, right? 5%, 7%, 10%, 6-star 10% plus no restrictions, which I think is important. I think that's definitely important. It occurs once per enemy turn, so it's probably not going to factor in too much, but for every once in a while where you get like multiple debuffs, that could be really, 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 really nice. Getting the 6-star on it. But I like this one a lot. I think this one is going to be the 1A ranked blessing because I do feel like it's maybe not like, I feel like it's a little, I don't know that I'm going to be putting on a lot of champions, frankly, right? If I'm using it on rare champions just don't scale that far into the game. That's just the reality of it now. And I don't know how many epic champions I would be putting this on. That said, like, things like a tank in Spider could be really, really useful. Things, there are scenarios where getting that little extra turn meter boost and getting it consistently because the enemy's putting debuffs on you could be really, really helpful. And so I do feel like it's definitely got a place, and in that sense is more universal than some of these other ones. So I like it. I think it's A tier. And that's my list. I don't know. What do you guys think? Where did I screw up? Did I overrate Nature's Bounty? I mean, I love this one. I think it's really great, but maybe it's just like the new factor for me. I know it's not new, but it's like new to me. I haven't had a chance to use it on anyone. But like, I just, like, look, when I was starting, Bellower was my farmer. Boy, do I wish I had this for him. Like turning those decreased attacks, decreased defenses into the big version. Oof, get out of town, right? I feel like it's just super good. And I feel like, I think it's a pretty solid list. I don't know. What do you guys think? Who did I rate too high? Who did I rate too low? Let me know. Hopefully you guys found this enjoyable. This went a lot longer than I was planning on it to. But I just kind of got into it and had fun with it. And here's the most important thing. If you enjoyed this one, doing the rares, let me know if you want me to do an epic version, if you want me to do the legendary version, because I'll do that. I've never done one of these, tier lists before, but they always look kind of fun, and I thought this would be a fun way to do it. And yeah, I thought this could be, I think there's definitely a lot of different, choices when you're going through these blessings, right? And it's a little bit tricky sometimes figuring out which one's the best one to do. But yeah, so I feel like tier list is a good way, right? Maybe I don't have to rank it 1, 2, 3, 4, but like saying, hey, this group is all pretty good. This group's pretty decent. So anyway, that's all we got for today. Hopefully you enjoyed, guys. Hey, if you did, subscribe. Why not? Hit a like button. Why not? And, hopefully you have a wonderful day and, say something happy to somebody you know. Never hurts to do. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.